Welcome to this explainer. We're always told voting is the absolute cornerstone of democracy, right? But what actually happens when none of the candidates on the ballot deserve your vote? Normally, we just hold our noses and pick the lesser of two evils, or we just completely check out and stay home. Well, today we're unpacking a radically different third option. It's a perspective from our source material that completely challenges decades of conventional political behavior. We're going to dive deep into the true meaning of sovereignty and how we might literally be misusing our greatest civic power. Okay, let's start with a super relatable domestic dilemma highlighted by the speaker. It's the classic clash of regional loyalties right at the dinner table. Just picture it, a husband from the Jalola region and a wife from Gyeongsang. And of course, he's insisting she vote for his preferred regional candidate. It's a tale as old as time, really. In so many democracies, regionalism, family pressure, or even just the stubbornness of a spouse can turn election season into an absolute household battleground. Honestly, the pressure to conform to your family's or region's political bloc is immense, and let's be real, it's pretty exhausting. So how exactly do you handle this kind of intense pressure without totally ruining family dinner? Well, the source advises a really practical approach. Step 1 is super simple. Just acknowledge them outwardly. You absolutely don't need to stubbornly fight back or try to aggressively change their mind right there in the living room. Step 2, avoid the pointless arguments. If they push, you can just nod and say, okay, I hear you, I'm going to do that. But step 3, that's where your true power lies. The literal second you pull that curtain closed in the voting booth, you are entirely alone, and that is when you strictly follow your own judgment and vote your conscience. Which brings us to section 1, the danger of blind voting. But what really happens when we cave to that pressure or just vote based on regional ties? Let's take a look. The source makes a really bold claim here, completely rejecting regionalism. It states that voting based on your hometown, like Gyeongsang or Jola, or just blindly following what your friends or older siblings tell you to do, is fundamentally an act of ignorance. Think about it. When someone tells you a candidate is good, you've got to ask exactly why they're good. If you're just following the crowd because someone from your hometown is running or because a family member told you to, you're totally abandoning the responsibility of verifying facts and evaluating their actual societal contributions. And this illustrates the macro problem perfectly. The speaker argues that uninformed voting doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It leads directly to deep societal hardships. The economic struggles, the social friction, the daily difficulties we face. The argument here is that they're actually our own fault. They are the direct result of decades of these careless, uninformed votes just piling up election after election. We all love to point the finger entirely at politicians for a struggling society, right? But if you vote carelessly, you actually share the blame for the difficult society that follows. It's the cumulative effect of millions of people voting without doing their homework over several decades. Moving on to section 2, the paradigm shift, the blank ballot. So, the crucial point is, if you don't know enough about any candidate, should you just stay home? Well, here is the source's radical alternative, intentionally casting a blank ballot. The idea is that you absolutely must go to the polling station. It's your sovereign duty. But if, after looking at the candidates, you realize you don't actually know enough about them or none of them have proven their worth to you, you shouldn't just randomly stamp a name. Instead, you fold the ballot paper exactly as it is, completely blank, and drop it in the box. It's a highly deliberate, conscious choice of non-selection. Now, you might be wondering, why not just skip the vote altogether, right? Well, the lecture explicitly warns against skipping because your absence is tracked. Skipping out completely means the system knows who didn't participate, and this civic negligence will inevitably lead to societal disadvantages for you in the future. You basically lose the right to complain about society if you didn't even show up. However, a blank ballot safely protects your anonymity. No one knows that you cast a blank piece of paper, but the system registers that you showed up and exercised your sovereignty. So you fulfill your duty without compromising your integrity. Just imagine the massive wake-up call a flood of these blank ballots would send to society. The speaker suggests that if a huge percentage of the voting population showed up but refused to endorse anyone, it would send a completely deafening message to the political establishment. It registers your attendance, it keeps your conscience perfectly clear because you didn't vote for someone you are unsure of, and it tells the establishment, hey, we're watching, we're participating, but frankly, none of you are good enough yet. It's a proactive demand for higher quality leadership. Let's jump to section 3, conditions for true sovereignty. So, how do we avoid the blank ballot and actually earn the right to choose someone? According to the lecture, the golden rule here is 3 to 7, meaning you need to independently gather 3 to 7 pieces of specific information about a candidate before giving them your vote. You just can't rely on a vague feeling or a slick commercial. You need concrete, verifiable points of data that you have collected yourself. If you don't have at least 3 solid facts about how this person operates and what they've actually contributed, well, you're entirely unqualified to vote for them, and you absolutely must revert to the blank ballot. So let's break down exactly how you get those facts. Step 1. Observe their daily media presence over time, not just during the crazy election cycle. Step 2. Verify their actual track record of helping society. The source emphasizes that you should never blindly trust mere campaign season promises because, let's face it, those are designed specifically to win votes. You've got to look at what they were doing before they needed your vote. Only when you've secured at least 3 concrete facts through your own observation should you finally take that stamp and mark your ballot for them. And this matters deeply because, as the speaker emphasizes, we're selecting the key players who will usher in a new knowledge society. We live in an era that is just overflowing with information, so choosing to remain in the dark, it's no longer acceptable. Whether you went to formal schooling or not doesn't even matter anymore because knowledge is literally everywhere. Our careless voting habits of the past, while painful, were part of a developmental process. But from today onward, as we step into this highly advanced future, our choices must be strictly informed. We simply can't afford to repeat the blind voting of the past. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final vital question regarding your own democratic duty. Next time you step into the voting booth, will you take the time to gather those 3 to 7 concrete facts? Or will you just fall back into the habit of following the crowd, risking the future of society on a blind guess? Remember, the blank ballot is always there as a tool to protect your integrity when the choices just fall short. The power is entirely in your hands, but only if you use it with open eyes. Thanks for joining me to explore this fascinating perspective on our civic duty.